Welcome to episode 383 of the 2-Minute Warning. Today we are going over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and whether or not they will get back their probably best defensive lineman, Shaq Barrett. It's an arguable debate between him and JPP, Ndamukong and Vita Bay, but no matter where you want to rank him on that Bucs D-line, will he even be back as a Buccaneer? That will be the question for this video. But for a question for the day, who is the all-time leader in sacks in Buccaneers franchise history? If you know the answer, comment it below. If you do not, I will reveal the answer at the end. But getting into this topic, looking at Shaq Barrett, who now has 2 Super Bowl rings, just won it with Tampa Bay this past year in 2020, obviously. But he also won a Super Bowl ring with Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos in 2016 when he was alongside Von Miller and they beat Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. Not many people knew that. A lot of people think he's a longtime Buck. However, he's been around the league. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings and he does not have a lot of, yes, he has a lot of money compared to anyone else. But in the NFL, he has not gotten his big payday yet and he will be looking for that. He's already came out and said it is time for him to break the bank. A lot of guys in their careers are either chasing the money or chasing the ring, whichever they don't have. And for Shaq Barrett, he's got 2 rings with 2 different teams. He's very proven. Now it's time for him to get his money, and I can't really blame him. But Buccaneers, do they have the money to sign him? Yes, but if they sign him, they might be missing out on everything else. Looking at the Buccaneers free agents outside of Shaq Barrett, there's, of course, Shaq Barrett, their linebacker, Lavonte David, receivers, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, tight end, Rob Gronkowski, teammate, defensive lineman of Shaq Barrett, Ndamukong is a free agent, running back Leonard Fournette. There are a lot of holes for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team to fill if they lose all their free agents. However, I do think they will get some of them, if not most of them, back. But the big question mark is, of course, their biggest defensive player possibly being lost to free agency, and that is in Shaq Barrett. Buccaneers have roughly $30 million in salary cap, free salary cap. I think it's around 27 to be exact. I'm just going to say 30 for the sake of the video. But Mike Evans has also already came out and said he's willing to renegotiate his contract to bring everyone back. So assuming that does happen, I'm going to bump it up to just the official $30 million, say somehow he saves $3 million a year, goes from the 27 actual million to now $30 million, assuming Mike Evans stands by that and goes with that assumption. And then Tom Brady, while he's not taking a lot of money right now compared to other NFL quarterbacks, Tom Brady's going to pay $25 million a year. You know, other quarterbacks like Big Ben are due for $41 million, Rodgers making $40, Mahomes is making $40, Watson's going to make $40, whichever team he ends up on. Tom Brady's very unselfish in that fact because he's taking $15 less million than the top of the par guys that he's on par with, so that's very unselfish of him. But I would not be surprised if he even takes less and goes from $25 million to $22.5 just to give this extra team an extra $2 million to bring back the guys and win more rings. Brady is not about the money, he's about winning, and that is why he's probably been one of the most successful quarterbacks of all time, if not the. I definitely think he is. But I think if this team renegotiates and get the money, I think they could get most of their free agents. I think Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski will play on discounts due to the fact that they just want to play with Brady and want to win more Super Bowls. Fournette and Godwin's, that's going to be another question. But Shaq Barrett, he wants that paycheck, and I think the Bucs can give it to him. But are they willing to miss out on Godwin and Fournette and possibly Lavonte David as well? That is a big question mark. I think they can manage to bring them all back depending what these guys are chasing. Like I said, a lot of guys either chase a ring or chase money, whichever they don't have. And now that a lot of them have rings, they will be chasing money. To be honest, I think the Bucs should let Chris Godwin go to free agency, let some other team pay him his high contract of the $14, $15, $16, $17 million that he is due and he does deserve. But I don't think the Buccaneers should bite the bullet and pay him for it. I think they should save that money and pay Shaq Barrett and give him the money he deserves. Probably going to be an $18, $19, $20 million contract for Shaq Barrett, but I do think he's worth every penny. He's led in sacks in 2019. He brought us to the Super Bowl last year, and he's a big part of bringing pressure on Patrick Mahomes. They can't get rid of him. I think he's a big asset for this Buccaneers team. But if he were to move off the Buccaneers, some potential teams that I could see him go to would be, of course, teams that have a lot of salary cap and willing to spend a lot of money on the defensive pass rusher that they in need of. New York Jets have a lot of cap space. He could accompany Quentin Williams, a big defensive tackle on that line. Jacksonville Jaguars, they have a lot of cap space. They're looking to change things up. They're going to get Trevor Lawrence. They got Urban Meyer, and they got a decent. They have 2 guys on defense that are worth mentioning. Their Captain Miles Jack at linebacker position and defensive pass rusher in Josh Allen on the Jaguars, not the quarterback on the Bills, on the Jaguars. Great pass rusher. And Shaq Barrett, if they accompanied with those 2, would be a pretty good defense in the making. Colts, Justin Houston is going to be free agent for the Colts. They already got their star linebacker, Darius Leonard. I think Shaq Barrett would be a great replacement for Justin Houston if they let him go, and they have a lot of cap space, and they're trying to create some winning culture there, especially with Carson Wentz being traded to the Colts. They're in a win-now situation. I think Shaq Barrett would be a cherry on top for that defense that is already top 5 already. Even if Justin Houston isn't, say he is re-signed by the Colts and doesn't go elsewhere, him accompanied with Shaq Barrett, the two would be very lethal. So there are, of course, of other teams. There's the Browns with Myles Garrett. They have cap space. There's the Broncos if he's looking for a reunion, if they don't sign Von Miller. There's the Bengals if they let go Geno Atkins. They'll have some more cap space. Washington football team, they have cap space, but they probably definitely don't need Shaq Barrett. They have arguably the best defensive line in the league. But to me, if he can't go back to my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, my most ideal situation for Shaq Barrett would be the Indianapolis Colts, because they have the second or third most cap space in the NFL. Looking at who has the most cap space, it's between the Jets, Jags, Colts are all top 3. So really, Shaq Barrett's going to get pretty much a similar amount of money from each of those 3 teams. You might as well go to the team that you're going to have at least the best chance of winning, and maybe even getting a 3rd ring with a 3rd team. Pretty impressive career right there, and therefore I think it's a pretty clear-cut answer that the best team has a chance of getting the most money with and the best chance of winning with outside of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the Indianapolis Colts. Like I said, they have a great team, in my opinion. Carson Wentz, new quarterback, backfield, Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines. Receiving core could get a little work, but they're developing a Michael Pittman, Zach Pascal, tight end Jack Doyle. Great offensive line. Defense, like I said, is top 5, and I like their coach, Frank Reich. That is a winning organization that I think will possibly be the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs this year, depending how Carson Wentz is. And like I said, Shaq Barrett, he was kind of Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite in the Super Bowl. That could benefit the Colts when they play him in the playoffs in the AFC. I'd like him to go to the Colts if he does not go to Tampa Bay, but either way, he's a deserving pass rusher that deserves the money he's looking for. He's been proven. He's got 2 rings, and I'd like to see him end up on a competitor. Not going to be rooting for him, obviously, if he's playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I do wish him the best, whether it be the Jets, Jaguars, Colts, or whoever. But I do think the Bucs can pull a trigger and re-sign Shaq Barrett if they're willing to let go Chris Godwin. I think it's going to come down to possibly signing one of the 2. I don't think they'll be able to keep both. Outside of the other 8, 9, 10 players, they got to re-sign, like I said, Brown, Gronk, Fournette, so on and so forth. But I think their 2 biggest guys that are due for the biggest contracts are Godwin and Shaq Barrett, and they're going to be forced to pick which. And I'm going to let Godwin go, let Scotty Miller and the receiving corps step up in a bigger role, get Shaq Barrett back on that defense, keep him on Tampa Bay, and go for a back-to-back Super Bowl repeat. I think with Tom Brady being the greatest quarterback of all time, just winning there, they might be able to convince him to come back, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Will Shaq Barrett be a Buccaneer? If not, where will he go in free agency, and will he get another ring with a 3rd team? Pretty impressive career. If so, that is it for the video. Side note, want to thank you guys for our 1,000 subscribers. We really appreciate that, each and every one of you. It means a lot. We made a lot of videos to get this far. We appreciate you guys. Question of the day: who is the all-time sack leader in Buccaneers franchise history? That is, of course, Warren Sapp, a big defensive lineman that helped the Buccaneers win their first Super Bowl in 2002. 77 sacks in his career. Thanks for watching, guys. 2 in the morning.